So what we got here is a set of manifold gauges. We got a unit, it's got R410A in it, and we teach our students how to hook up gauges. How to hook up gauges is we want to make sure and hook up at the lowest pressures possible. So we're going to grab our gauge, high side gauge, because right now it's pretty low pressure in the system. There's only about 200 psi in that system. You got about 70 degrees outside, it's 200 psi. So when it's not running, that's pretty low. When we turn this on, though, what you'll see is that high side actually start going up. It gets pretty high on pressure, 280, 300 psi, something like that. So I'm going to just leave that little hose loose like that. You guys can see what will happen if somebody does something wrong. So we can hook up our gauges over here. Oh, we got a leak. So we want to make sure and tighten these hoses up that are on a manifold gauge. But that's pretty cool. Our designers that are helping us build this have been awesome. They've made some really good adjustments in very quick time. So it's pretty awesome what they're able to do with their system. But here we go. Looking at the pressures, we got 120 psi on the low side and 280 on the high side. So once we figure out everything's running good with the system, we don't want to disconnect at the lowest pressure possible. Now if we look at these 280 psi right here, all right, so now we can see our manifold on the high side stayed at 200, it didn't go back up to 280, and our low side is coming back down. So EPA requires us to try and get as much refrigerant out of these gauges as possible. So how we do that, get that 200 to be the same pressure as the 120, is I open up my high side valve and I open up my low side valve, and you can see the pressures equalize there. So they're both at 120 psi, and we want to close those back down. And when the system's off, if I were to turn it off right now, you'll see that low side gauge go back up to 200. So I don't want to do that. I want to lower pressure. So I want to take my gauges off while it's running. Put my gauge on the back there. So this is our HVAC simulator. Just a real basic one now. We have plans for the future to make some more of these, maybe a little more in depth with recovery and evacuation.